afternoon, everybody. So, the final day, the last day of Moscow Grand Prix. That we would say if there won't be a tiebreak tomorrow. So, really not sure what today is gonna bring. Last classical game, that's for sure. So, Daniil, Yuffa, and myself, and you who joined us, we will witness the last classical game played in Moscow Grand Prix today. Well, after yesterday's relatively quiet, well, a lot of tension, but relatively quiet game, I kind of do expect that today's going to be another draw and a tiebreak, but players might have different plans. So, once again, to remind you, two finalists, both from Russia. Jan Nepomniachtchi will have white pieces today against Alexander Grishuk. The game will start in a couple of minutes.
So, Jan is a very ambitious player, and I think that we should expect a real fight.
So at least he will try,
yes,
you mean?
Obviously.
Yeah, but at the same time, we all remember what Magnus said when he was accused of making like quick draw against Karyakin in the last game of the World Championship match. He said sometimes it's better to play like a rapid match instead of one game in classics, even though with the sometimes with the white pieces. Yeah. So I expect Jan to try a bit and to see how it's gonna go, and if no advantage in the opening, then
yeah,
perhaps he might think, okay, let's play the rapid portion, because out of those two, I cannot really say that we have a favorite if it comes to rapid chess.
Yeah,
right?
so Grishuk was a couple of times the World Blitz champion, and also he was second in the World Rapid in Doha in 2016.
But Jan as well, we
Jan
know
was
him.
the second in the World Rapid probably in 2013 or 2012.
Yeah, I do remember him showing very, very good results.
Yeah,
in
and also we all know
Blitz,
that he's just an incredible blitz and shorter time controls player. So we should expect. I really don't know what to expect, but I think that we can promise you that today we'll still, at least we will see some fights, and probably if Jan so if he
decides
that he had nothing from the opening, probably maybe
that might be a tiebreak. But yes, once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you would feel a bit disappointed if the draw happens today, then make sure to come back tomorrow, because if a draw today means a lot of excitement tomorrow for the tiebreak match. But first, let's see what happens today. So, white pieces for Jan Nepomniachtchi. In this tournament, he played, I believe, exclusively e4, so nothing else. I don't recall.
So it was e4 against Aronian, it was e4 twice against Wei E, and against Wojtaszek it was e4
Yeah,
as well.
It was e4 all the time, yeah. So 3 games against Wojtaszek all started with one e4, and then I believe the final game with white was won by Jan Nepomniachtchi. So, well, once again, a VIP guest to make a first move. So today it's Alexei Parabuchev, the CEO of Moscow Agency of Innovations. So, the tradition of having each day having a new guest to make move one stays there. 1 e4 indeed from Jan Nepomniachtchi. He's not taking this move back, so that means e4 indeed will be played, and I'm wondering what Grishuk will come up with. So far it was 2 times the Sveshnikov Sicilian against Wesley So, and I'm trying to recall, against Nakamura it was
Gioco Piano.
It was Gioco Piano. Right. Yeah. And then it was, so once he played e5, 2 times the Sicilian against Wesley So, and in round 1 it was something close against Karyakin, d4, d5 or something like that. Yeah, and e4, e5. So no messing around with Sicilian, because I believe from Jan you could expect bishop b5, the Rossolimo Sicilian, something like that. Yeah. So instead Grishuk goes with e5,
and
knight to c6, and Ruy Lopez. And now...
By the way, is it the first Ruy Lopez in this tournament?
Well, it might as well be. Interesting. No, I believe, Jan played against Aronian. That was, obviously, Aronian plays only e5 and only Ruy Lopez. And the Berlin defense, knight f6, and Grishuk immediately leaves. It's a kind of giving Jan a hint that, please show me show me what you know against the Berlin.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but castle.
Castle
So
quickly. Okay, so no
Jan may
d3 at
accept
least.
the Berlin after.
Yeah. So no Berlin. Sorry, no d3.
Yeah,
no anti-Berlin. No d3. Castles. So knight e4 is a lot. I believe that's the moment where we can.
Also, knight c3 could be a transposition to 4 knights.
So that's the moment that we can actually start our analysis board feature. Maybe we can try to update the moves here?
Yeah, I think we can.
No, not really. Yeah, well, not relevant just yet, but at some point it will be interesting to see the time players spend on those moves. Yeah, so castles, knight takes e4 will be played as soon as Krishuk gets back to the board. That's the whole point of playing 3 knight f6, to grab a pawn on e4. And then really a lot will depend on Jan's very next move, because d4 will lead to the actual Berlin.
But yeah, by the way, we may expect this line, which is also tricky.
This is well, it is tricky, but once again, if black knows, this is like feels like an easier.
No, but I thought that recently white had some ideas.
Yeah, rook e1 played.
Yeah, so that's why that means there is no Berlin. I mean,
yeah,
not
the
main
the
line.
real Berlin.
Yeah,
so the real, once again, real Berlin. That's the end game we are referring to. d4, bishop takes, pawn takes on e5, knight f5, queen d8, king d8.
Yeah, and there is a variety of moves for white.
Yeah, variety of moves for white, but I believe recently white struggles against the same plan. I mean, when black replies with h5 to h2, h3, and then the feeling is like you can, I mean, it's such an easy play for black.
But on the board, the line that I've been expecting, I mean, like
rook e1.
Knight e5.
No, he didn't take on e5. Yeah.
So bishop.
So rook e1, knight to d6, knight takes on e5, and bishop to e7. Bishop to e7. I believe you play bishop f1
and
here.
that might be a transposition.
Bishop f1 here. Castles.
I thought.
Yeah, I mean you can take.
Because otherwise it will be d4 and no more takings on e5 because of d takes e5.
Oh yeah, could be. Yeah. Takes.
Castle. And recently, probably the most popular line was connected with d4 and d5.
d4,
I mean, yeah, d4,
bishop f6, rook to e1, rook e8, I believe, and then they've started to play
d5, I thought.
d5 or...
Okay.
There was some line with pawn sack.
Remember? Yes, I saw that it might be like this.
Takes.
c6 and some... or... Yeah, I'm trying to recall, but it's not easy because...
No, I think it was, strangely enough, it was... they were sacrificing the pawn on d4.
Rook e2 is also...
Rook e2.
Possible.
That's the move I believe Magnus Carlsen has played against Karyakin in one of the games in a World Championship match. b6 was the move Karyakin played, but I'm not sure if it will be played in our game.
Despite the symmetrical structure, this position is very complicated, and
yeah,
even slight finesses may influence the whole game and influence the evolution of the position.
It does look like black has nothing to worry about, but it's not necessarily
white has
true.
A slight space advantage, and
it's like next few moves will more or less determine if white is getting something or it will be just an absolute equality. So knight f5 in this case is answered with d5, right?
I think so.
Because I mean, if you play something else, then black goes d5. He's absolutely happy.
Obviously.
And like that, by going d5, some people played it with rook on e1. That's I'm sure. Yeah, and then black would go d6, and it's once again it's nothing special, but a bit of a space advantage. And well, perhaps we can say that at least white retains the hope for something. Yeah. So instead of knight f5, what black can do? What the other thing black can do here? Rook e8.
Yeah.
Or b6 like Karyakin has played. Rook e8, and
But
then
by the way, I remember. I'm sorry for interrupting. I remember
yeah.
that after bishop f6, there was also a line connected with bishop d3. So it means like if you take on
really?
e5, d takes
Pawn
e5,
takes,
knight
knight
e8,
e8, and
some
then
queen h5.
queen h5, and
and
then perhaps h6 is answered with bishop takes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
h6, yeah.
So
So g6, and you have to
So-
weaken the squares around the king. So
I remember that the valuation of this line is
equality,
yeah.
as per usually
Yeah.
in such lines. Grishuk has played knight c4.
I think
And
it's
he
more
did it-
more or less well known because so the
really?
idea is to play d5 just.
Yeah, so knight c4, using the fact that the rook is on e2.
Yes, and if d5
And
the
d5 is
b2
not
pawn is
possible,
hanging.
b2 is hanging. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, so knight c4 is a clever move. I
Clever
like
action.
it. Well, in a way that black is not blindly copying his moves from rook e1 line, but tries to make a point that, yeah, okay, rook on e2 is better in some cases.
Can we say that knight c4 is kind of provoking b3?
Well, we can say so when b3 was played. b3 was played, so I assume the knight goes to b6, right?
And it reminds me some Alekhine structure.
Yeah, it could be, so that after c4, for instance,
Just I think d5.
d5, c5,
A very common reaction, and just probably knight d7.
knight to d7, and then all of a sudden white might find it
A bit hard to develop because
yeah, so how do
if
you
knight c3,
knight c3 is fails to knight c5, perhaps. There is still bishop a3. I mean, it's not the end of the line,
Well.
right? Bishop a3, and then
and all of a
what
sudden
happens?
Maybe it's just
by
not
the
so
way,
clear. I saw that.
yeah, it actually is very tricky because the exchange sacrifice
Like like I'm trying to
96,
figure out.
96, bishop takes and king takes.
Well, it
Might be very
It might be still.
Yeah.
It might still be playable for black.
well. I believe it
All of a
is.
sudden.
I believe it is because it's it's pawn for an exchange. d4 is weak.
Pair of bishops.
Pair of bishops. Yeah. So c6, queen b6 could be like next moves. So even such position is not all that clear.
Yeah, and by the
Yeah.
way, knight takes c5 is probably not necessary after knight c3.
Yeah, you can play c6, but then I assume white might be up to have something.
Yes, but the problem that's like now if you play bishop f4 with an idea to
Yeah,
play
that's
bishop
the
d6,
problem. Yeah, so now if you go bishop f4, then of course knight takes c5, and there is no drawbacks
Yeah.
anymore. So you'll probably have to play a move like queen d3. That's what I'm thinking. And then black might be in time to regroup with rook e8, and then the knight from d7 goes to f8, and later on e6.
Yeah, I think the another thing
Or
that we can try to
B6
play
is-
b6 or a5
b6
first.
or a5 first, and then b6.
And I
yeah,
think the
that
position
might be.
is just nice.
Well, okay, that's tricky, by the way, but because still I can go bishop f4 and then not react to b6, or try not to react to b6, because after b6 you do threaten bishop a6 still.
Yeah.
So we're
So black is just in time to have a very, very sufficient, I can't say counter play, but just a normal play.
okay. So knight goes to b6. That
As
was
well as we
expected.
predicted.
a4. A4 quickly.
Yes, so that's more flexible because now, I mean, the pawn just may stay on c2, or the white will play c3 to restrict the black's bishop.
Well, and then the most natural move would be still to try to go one of the most natural moves would still be to try to go d5.
Yeah.
In which case, however, white probably goes a5. That's what I thought. Like getting a symmetrical position, but with space advantage on the queen side. So once again, it's not necessarily an equal game. And then, who knows? Maybe the pawn goes to c3, right? Knight to d2 and f3, and then pawn goes to c3. It might be something for white. Yes, c5, right? But then after bishop e3, I'm not sure what your reaction is. because
you're forcing me
capturing
to
like capturing on
have an isolated
d4
pawn.
that would be
Yeah, that's true.
would be
not
not ideal.
So clear.
Not ideal. So a4. The other thing, of course, that black can try to play a5. That's what I thought. Because in our line with c4 d5, it's clearly in black's favor. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, at least it seems so. It would be the inclusion of a4 a5 will be in black's favor. So over here, you probably don't play c4. You just try, I don't know, c3 once again. I believe it's not the knight which goes to c3, but the pawn.
Yeah, probably the pawn.
Yeah. In some cases, you can shift the rook on the second rank, like in case of rook e8, for example. I'm not sure why would black bother to play rook e8 here, because
So
I think
take and play rook
I think
e8.
you go d5, yeah. I think you go d5, but then, for instance, bishop to a3, rook e8, and yeah, and rook a2 or capture and rook a2. So first, using the second rank to shift the rook to the center.
Very peculiar.
Yeah, well, very strange move order, but it does make sense for white. And if Krishuk is not like super prepared against this, then it might be tricky as well. Like playing c5 could be a bit too much, yeah?
Yeah, so Nepomniachtchi has blitzed out his
So
a4, rook e2, so I still believe that a4 is a
yeah, a4 should be a preparation. Yeah. For Alexander, well, some time spent, but once again, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's out of the book. Yes. I remember Krishuk spending like half an hour, and that would still be fine. I mean, knowing what the next move is, but he's trying to delve the, in the position so that when the independent play starts, where both players out of the book, so he is.
By the way, I'm thinking to play knight d5 back
knight
after
d5, which is somewhat provocative, but at the same time, you're trying to make a point that if white goes c4, you want to go knight b4, right?
Yeah.
Knight b4.
And then a5.
Yeah, and then white perhaps has to play a5 himself, right? Because otherwise, yeah, after black playing a5, I can imagine black having really good position. So that will be quite tricky. c5. But no, but here I have bishop b2, and the bishop is protected, right?
I saw that it's just a normal position.
Or d5,
or even d5,
perhaps. It's like
I was thinking that after d5 you have some ideas connect with d takes c5.
D takes c5.
Which apparently I didn't like. Okay, well, personally I don't believe in d4.
Who knows? There are moves. I mean, there are some tricks here, like bishop g4. Who knows? or even taking on, capturing on c4 here, exactly in this position. But then you take on d8. Yeah. But it's.
By the way, there is a funny position after bishop takes.
Captures. Yeah, rook
b2,
takes, queen
f6.
Where you have to go queen d2, I believe.
Ah, but bishop, the knight is hanging. So that's the problem.
Not right now.
I mean, like, I wanted to play d4, but in this case...
yeah, if you go d4, then the knight
yes, because, for example, if the knight is not hanging, just look at the position.
Yeah, it's really tough for white to
develop.
Yeah, to develop all this stuff.
Like, rook a4 is one of the moves, but the knight is hanging, that's the problem.
Yeah, but knight d5 feels a bit too artificial.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, like, if you start with bishop e3, I play d6, and the drawback of the bishop e3 is that f4
square f4 square is available for black. So now c4, you get knight f4.
Yeah. And now probably
knight f4, and then
bishop f5, knight
bishop
e6,
f5,
and just
knight
a
can
nice
go
position.
to e6.
But knight d4, d5, I mean, it might be that it might be not that worse.
Oh wait, and how about starting with, yeah, once again, c4, knight b4, and you're kind of threatening to, well, positional threat is to play a5, of course, yes.
Yeah, and then d5 as well.
Almost forced to play a5 myself. Yeah, well, actually, instead of c5, Could you start with d5?
Yeah, I think I can.
And then, yeah, if I put the bishop on a3,
I play
then
c5,
you
yeah.
can play c5. Yeah.
And I think this pawn structure is in favor of black. Like, even if you play c5. Because
yeah,
the knight is restricted.
d4 is hanging, and yeah, it's like if white spends 2 tempi to capture b4, like with rook a4 and rook b4, then black should be by that time able to generate some counterplay.
So.
You probably start with bishop g4 here as black.
Yeah, bishop
provoking
g4,
f3, and then going somewhere
squares.
like bishop f5, for instance.
Okay, well, you can play queen d2, but...
Yeah, but then bishop b1, queen a5, it's black who wins the pawn in this case. Takes, queen a5.
Yeah.
That's actually...
That's beautiful.
That might be much better for black, because
of
you know,
this pawn,
d4...
Yeah, it may just fall as apples.
You should not be fooled by the fact that there are opposite colored bishops, so that this perhaps is better for black. Yes,
I mean,
the more we look at it, the more
like
I understand knight d5 is an interesting move.
It's in spirit of Alekhine defense. I mean, like, the symmetrical pawn structure, like, white is trying to push, but then these pawns can become a real weakness.
Yeah, that's the trick usually. When you gaining the space advantage, you have to make sure that your pieces are ready to kind of back up
tactically.
Yeah, to back up your pawn's advance. Yeah, because sometimes you just advance too far and not able to defend the squares behind your pawn's chain, and then everything falls usually. That's the perhaps the idea black bases his contemplating in Alekhine defense, as Daniil mentioned, and as well as in some lines of King's Indian.
Yeah.
When you allow white to to advance as far as possible, then all of a sudden this center becomes vulnerable. In Grunfeld as well, so that was by the time it appeared in chess theory, it was like an absolutely new concept, right? So hypermodernism we are talking about, when before that it was considered that black has to reply in the center immediately. So on one e4, the strongest move is one e5. On one d4, strongest move is one d5. But then, well, a group of players, they developed this...
It became with Reti.
Yeah, I think Reti was one of them. Reti, then Dula, Breya, well, and Grunfeld as well. Yeah, so they understood that sometimes you might
it's not necessary to play symmetrically.
Yeah, and then you might give your opponent a chance to grab a center if you have sufficient measures to put the pressure on the center later on.
Yeah. So what are the other opportunities? Not so as artificial as knight d5.
Well, a5, d5. I mean, like 3 moves I would consider
also
to be.
d6 I think is just
d6.
Okay, well, the only drawback that we are allowing white to gain some extra space.
Then
in some
might try to go. I mean, to take all the tempo you give me. Yes, a5. I assume knight goes to d5 anyway, right? c4. Knight to b4.
Yeah, and that's the question. But also think about knight e7, which probably may be slightly worse for black, but still remains very, very solid.
Knight e7.
Yeah, but I'll try knight b4 first.
Yeah, knight b4. I thought it might actually lead to the same. So now, the question is, what do I do with white?
That's a good question.
Like rook a4? You might say that he goes c5, and then the rook is really weird. The rook is really weird on a4. And other than that, I don't really like the fact that, there is a pin on this diagonal.
Yeah.
A1, h8 diagonal, right? So it's like black's gonna play c5 anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think
there's like 4 moves candidates, right? d6, d5,
it might
a5, and even
not worse, because knight c4 line has already been played by top grandmasters. I mean, at the same level as Grishuk is right now. But I didn't see any forced refutation from white.
You know what? I'm a bit surprised with
Alex thinking.
Yeah, with Alexander thinking here. It's like it brings me to the yesterday's game where he was the one to choose kind of a rare line, and then after few moves, he was the one who spent a lot of time in the opening. So now it's, I cannot say that it was Grishuk to choose this line, but once again, if he was ready to go for it, if he was ready to play knight c4, then b3 a4, it's like one of the first things you are checking. Alright, a5 played.
a5 is played.
And what did we say after this? So that white is not going to play c4, he's gonna play c3, and which might be, in fact, might be fine for black, right? So, well, a slight initiative for white, but shouldn't be anything special, right? So black is hoping to neutralize the. Well, by the way, is he for knight c3?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Knight c3. All right. So the point is. Well, first of all, I thought that d5 you play almost automatically on knight c3 because knight e4 is the idea, right?
Yeah.
So you probably play d5. And then I realized that perhaps the point is to go bishop a3 first. Bishop a3, rook e8. And then to put the knight on b5. So it's kind of, I mean, I'm not sure, but
immediately.
Or takes and put the knight on b5. So make it c6 awkward for black. Right? Because if you allow black to play c6, for instance, you go queen d2 and black plays c6, then the knight on c3 is not doing much. But this way, you put the knight on b5, whenever black tries c6, it's always knight d6. And yes, I'm not sure what kind of position is that. I mean, black still can play, no, knight c7,
yeah.
Pardon me. Yeah, I kept, I thought about the same position, in fact. Yeah, knight b5, well, you can play queen d8 first, yeah?
Okay, well, so
takes, knight b5. You can play queen d8 first, which would probably lead to the same position. Queen d2, c6, knight to d6, and then something, forcing white. Well, actually, bishop e7 should be good enough, or not.
No, but you take. I can't take on a3.
Or you take knight c8. And then you mean
bishop c1.
Bishop c1 and.
Okay, well, it's like. Well, it's slightly.
Yeah, there is a little something for white. Strangely enough,
because of the pair of bishops.
Two bishops. It's never too much, but there is something. So you go like c3, queen to c2, bishop to d3, something like that. So at least this one is playable. It's not like absolutely equal.
Okay, well, but knight c3. It's funny enough that knight d5 was aimed against knight c3 and.
What else can you do for black? If you aren't playing d5, it's like d5 is practically forced.
Yeah,
it feels
d5
like because knight e4 is annoying.
Yeah.
And then with white,
not many moves has some sense. I mean, like bishop a3.
If you try to play, say, to develop bishop f4, queen d2, other rook to e1, that could be c6. Yeah, this is the fact that I don't like about white's position now. That the knight is fairly restricted on c3, queen d2, and then what black's going to do? Perhaps rook e8, so that to swap a pair of rooks.
I'm thinking about bishop g4,
bishop g4, f3, bishop f5, rook to e1, and then queen d7.
Yes.
Yeah, in this case, it feels like black is totally fine. I mean, there are some ideas connected with with pawn march like g4 or g5, but it's rather double-edged, right?
Yeah, I think so.
G5, okay, you go to d8, yeah. Then once again, the fact that yes, white is getting a lot of space on the king side.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're weakening some.
Yeah, the knight is really silly on c3.
While black's knight will have a nice route from c8
knight
to
c8, d6, and
f5.
finally to f5.
So it's just double H.
Yeah, so the feeling is like after d5, and perhaps d5 will be played. And then indeed, the idea with bishop a3 and putting the knight on b5 is the key here for white.
Yeah, most likely.
Rook e8.
Yeah, so probably that you have to take
takes.
Otherwise, I'll take and play c6.
Yeah, takes, queen takes, knight b5. Queen to d8, that's what we were doing?
Yeah.
Queen d2. Looks logical. c6, knight d6.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we can start from something else. Or maybe we can.
Maybe bishop e6 is slightly more precise, right? It's hard to tell, because then white's going to play queen f4. And then c6 is connected with knight c7 ideas, right? And try to take the bishop on e6. This should be better for white. At least the feeling is such.
Yes, should be.
That's like you have some, or you don't have.
Yeah, so
well, the question is if you have g5.
At least you
here.
can take on a6.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Yes, no g5s.
Have a pair
here.
of bishops in the endgame.
So no g5s here. Yeah, so if after queen d8, queen d2, perhaps black has to play c6 immediately, right?
Yeah,
knight to d6, bishop e7, and then after bishop e7, okay, knight c8 is already something, but as well, you can play queen f4, trying to get the other bishop. And then if black is forced to take on d6, then the feeling is like it's much better.
Yeah, bishop f4 is...
Bishop f4 is quite an annoying move, yeah? It's quite an annoying move.
Okay, well, maybe I can play queen f8.
Queen f8. Well, then once again...
Yeah, but I think you can add some pressure playing rook e1.
That's not sure, because now a3 is hanging, right? So black can play bishop e6 and b7.
So
b7 is no longer possible to take.
Well, it's like still unclear, because after bishop e6, you play bishop c5.
Bishop c5, knight
but you
to
have
d7.
knight d7, and probably you just equalize after taking with all pieces on c5.
Yeah, knight takes b7. Knight c5, black takes everything on c5, getting absolutely reasonable position. None of that will happen in the game, because Krzysztof played his next move very quickly, and the move was d7, d6. And for some reason...
Yeah, it was considerable.
Yeah, wait. For some reason we said like he practically automatically has to play d5. Yeah, so knight e4 was our main concern, obviously. But then perhaps he's simply fine with going bishop e7, right? I do believe that you have to, you want to keep the bishop. Even though, now looking at it...
Yes, but
is it really
very important inclusion that... I mean, a4, a5 is a very important inclusion, because in this position, if white try to gain some extras playing d5, now the c5 square will become like a very typical in this kind of pawn structure. So then after d5, I think at least we can play bishop f5 or even f5, I think. And then we'll have a nice road to c5 square.
Yeah, in a schematic way. I mean, one thing black can do is to go bishop f5, then
trade
just to take it, go knight d7, knight
bishop,
c5, bishop f6, like basing his setup on dark squares, and this might be good enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, so d5 is unlikely to be the... Yeah, and by the way, instead of going bishop e7, I just thought... Could it be that you are fine with giving up this bishop if you just go bishop f5, or maybe start with bishop g4 to force f3? I mean, I'm not sure in whose favor that one is.
Okay, well, so
you're forcing f3 and you go bishop f5. And
so then I'll take...
Yeah, knight takes f6, queen takes f6. And I do understand, the pair of bishop thing, but black is quite fast in this case, right? So
you want to play rook f8, knight d5?
Yeah, knight d5, yeah. My main idea was to put the knight on d5, which will be pretty much annoying for white.
But in this position, if I play c4...
Okay, c4 is...
restricting...
c4 is a good move, yeah. Because then knight is far, far away from the b4 square. The square you want it to be on. Yeah, c4, putting the bishop to b2, yeah, this is better for white. So it's... Grishuk will have to keep the f6 bishop.
Yeah, I think just bishop e7 simply after knight e4.
Yeah, bishop e7 and... Alright, if I'm not cooperating, if I'm just going c3. Because still, d5, knight
yes,
c5...
I think like remaining the pawn structure flexible is a very clever thing. I mean, it's not so easy for black to develop because
Yeah,
like you're always allowing white to, I can't say gain some tempos, but at least
exactly.
attack your pieces.
Yeah, your pieces are somehow vulnerable. Oh, well, maybe bishop e6 in this case, and possibly not opting for d5 in the near future. Just bishop e6 to follow up with queen d7.
Yeah,
you
maybe
know.
knight d5.
Yeah, maybe that one's fine anyway. Right. So anyhow, in rook e1 line against the Berlin, white is not trying to refute black's strategy immediately, right? It's like, not that it's easy to point out the line where white can try to refute. Yeah, Berlin is a very, very solid, very reliable opening for black. So the line with rook e1 is hardly can be called critical, but this is a type of position white is actually aiming for. A little something in a symmetrical position with zero risk and a slight push for an advantage. Then, obviously, given the match situation, so Jan has the white pieces. That's the last game of the match.
Right? It can be the last game of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, so first game is already drawn. So that's what we want to have. It's like slight advantage but zero risk. That's an ideal scenario. So it's not a lot of people who would say, okay, let it be all or nothing. I'll just play with white some really sharp line, some gambit, and try to decide the match today. So it's all about patience in those knockouts, right? Yeah. It's all about patience.
It's not giving any chances.
So that seems to be the first moment in this game where Jan actually starts thinking, which brings me to the idea that d6 possibly is not the main move Jan has analyzed. I mean, there's nothing wrong. It does look logical, but possibly d5 was kind of checked in more detail.
Yeah, but I can say that I like d6. It is very flexible, and it's like playing d5 means that after bishop a3, knight b5.
Yeah, some forcing line starts.
I mean, you can't win this position if your opponent just normally plays the game. But if you play d6, it's a kind of it provokes white to prove that they have some advantage because they have an extra space, and if they start to push, they can overpush.
So you mean it might give black chances to?
Yeah, I mean like in perspective.
Yeah, in the long run, it might be more combative move. Yeah, strangely giving some part of giving the space advantage to your opponent, but at the same time, the fact that one pair of minor pieces had been exchanged, that perhaps is in black's black's favor, we can say. Yeah, so the less space you have, the more pieces you normally want to trade. Yeah. So it's like black has enough space for all the pieces. Like, yeah, if white doesn't try to do something immediately, if white simply continues to develop, black does have enough useful moves for himself, like going bishop f5, maybe going g6 in some cases to keep the bishop on long diagonal.
Okay, well, but in this position, what to do instead of knight e4? Because
it's not so easy. That's as well. I came to the same conclusion that if you don't play knight e4, then it's not clear what else do you do. Because black, as I said, has enough of useful moves with bishop f5 or possibly bishop g4 forcing f3, then going bishop f5.
But at the same time, if, for example, I'll play bishop e3, which I think doesn't have much sense.
Then, funny enough, black can change his mind and go d5.
Yeah. I mean, now there is no bishop a3.
No bishop a3, and the very next move is c6, restricting the knight on c3. Yeah, so that's funny. This looks like a tempo loss, but in fact, it might be like black has won a tempo, because the most efficient diagonal for the dark square bishop, white's dark square bishop, would be a3 f8 diagonal in this case. So now knight b5 doesn't make any sense because black's going to play c6. And in case of, for instance, queen d2, c6, we are coming to some position that we've sort of discussed where black seemingly has no worries whatsoever. Yeah, so right. So that's not... well, something connected with queen d2, for instance. So my point is I want to protect the c3 knight and to see what black is doing. Yeah, but as I said, yeah, bishop f5 is perfectly fine, right?
Or bishop g4
bishop
first.
g4 first. Well, rook e1 in this case, maybe. So there is no more pin on this diagonal, so maybe I just go rook e1.
Okay, well.
No, but that's silly, because my whole point was to go d5, which is just a blunder. You take on d5.
Yeah.
Or in this case...
yeah, maybe I'm allowing you to
Can
play.
it be tricky? d5... well, at the very least, you take on c3. Yeah, because knight d5, there is knight d5.
I think I thought queen... no. Yeah, queen d5, bishop
no,
c3.
Knight takes and then knight e7.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So it fails tactically because bishop went to f5. But yeah, but d5 at least allows bishop takes c3 followed by knight d5. It shouldn't be all that much of a problem for black. It's like queen f3, bishop e6.
Yeah, well, still some compensation.
Queen d4. Yeah, but I don't believe white has the advantage in this case.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, well, by the way, queen f6 trades the queens in this case.
Wow.
So, yeah, queen takes d5,
the
there is queen
hanging.
a1, and then the bishop on c1 is hanging as well.
Yeah, so bishop
Yeah,
f5
in
maybe.
general, yeah, I just thought for some reason that d5 would be like a great achievement, and I mean, first of all, it might fail tactically, but even if not,
Yeah, it doesn't
the point
change
that
much,
the point that you've mentioned that after inclusion of a4, a5, there is always a square on c5 for black knight.
Yeah.
So it really resembles this Alechin positions with the exchange line, where white goes e5 and then takes on d6, right?
Yeah, so in main line in Alechin, I like the position that occurs less than there, because in this case, white's pieces look a bit well.
Yeah, well, strangely placed,
yeah.
right? And a4, a5 is usually in black's favor in the line that we are talking
obviously.
about.
So Nepo is thinking,
and Grishuk, I believe he did play Alechin, or I'm confusing him.
yeah.
With black, I'm not really sure.
I think Tomaszewski has played Alechin for some period of time, but
yeah, remember very sharp game between Swidler and Grishuk in 4 pawns Alechin, but it possibly was with colors reversed. That's a long time ago. I mean, this line with d5 and, you know, this 4 pawns, the sharpest line, but I'm not sure.
There are not so many players that played Alechin for at least not a couple of games. I may recall that Hikaru Nakamura used to play Alechin in zeros, like in 2006, 2008, 20, yeah, in this period of time, and maybe just a little bit earlier. And also, yeah, Evgeny Tomaszewski. Yes, but not so many players. I mean, like, on the top level. Gatakamsky used to play Alechin for a long period of time.
Alright, so Jan is still thinking after d6, and really we couldn't find a decent alternative to knight e4. Oh wait, if you wanted to get d5, of course it's more logical to go knight e4, right? Bishop e7, d5. Knight e4, yeah, because I mean the alternative to knight e4 that I was trying to make work was queen d2, but once again it's against the logic. If you want to go d5, then you at least do it by force. So bishop e7. Let me try, nevertheless. Okay, I go d5, because otherwise I don't really feel like I'm having, you know, any hope for an advantage. So d5, what we said, bishop f5, or bishop g4, bishop f5, not sure what. If we want this pawn on f3, okay, let's try. f3, bishop f5. Yeah, and then the very next move is not clear. Because bishop b2, you probably can take
Take and play
e4.
bishop f8.
You
Oh,
probably
sorry,
bishop
f6.
f6. Yeah, you probably can take and play bishop f6. Bishop b2, yeah. Black captures, rook takes, bishop f6.
I think black is just slightly better. Because like we're trading the bishops and we play knight d7, knight c5, queen goes to f6, trading the rooks. I mean, like, it's an like overall plan, but
yeah, well,
obviously it will be not so easy to
looks
implement.
Strange. Yeah, it's like I was thinking that in fact, if white would be able to put the bishop on b5, you know,
to restrict
and control the e8, so that white has
so they make allies. Yeah,
that could be even better for white, because the knight on c5 alone does not solve all the issues. You would have to find a place for both rooks. The problem is that I cannot make it, because bishop f6, queen f6, the d5 pawn is hanging.
Yeah, and if bishop
b5, there is knight takes d5. And other than that, I don't really see a move. Then if white starts some prophylactics after bishop takes, queen takes, then of course you go rook e8, you swap one pair of rooks. Yeah, I don't even see the move. Yeah, well, c3 perhaps, as ugly as it looks, just not to exchange the bishops. But then of course black should be perfectly fine with knight d7 or rook e8 if he wants it. Okay, knight e4 played. I believe there is no reason to try anything else but bishop e7.
In this position, like, black has an obvious plan, but while at the same time it's quite difficult to find the pattern for white. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we get the position which is on our analysis board, yeah. So knight e4, we do expect black to go bishop e7.
Yeah, I think so. You would rarely see top grandmasters giving up a pair of bishops. Yeah. No. I mean, in this, I mean, tactically, it may be, I can say.
Yeah, well, in some positions, it might be justified. Yeah.
Yeah, justified.
But really, yeah, like we were giving the bishop on e4, wasn't it? I mean, we were playing bishop e7, and after d5, we were going bishop f5, and we were voluntarily taking.
But I mean, like, while the pawn structure is fixed, but while it's flexible. Sometimes it can be dangerous, but I mean,
even this one we were not sure. Yeah, like takes. But yeah, you've spotted that there is c4.
Yeah,
the c4 move is a good one.
So it's like, I think that I can conclude that if you want to give up a pair of bishops, you have to fix the pawn structure just to be sure.
Pawn structure first. Yeah. Yeah, like in this other line. Where we are going knight b5 and knight d6, right? And then when black has, for instance, the pawns on d5 and c6, then he's fine giving the light square bishop.
Yeah.
Because his forces combined, they are doing a job of protecting the squares of different colors.
Yeah.
Right. So the pawn chain is put on light squares, and then you have the dark square bishop to back up the pawn chain and cover the dark squares.
So it was a rule explained by, I think, Capablanca, like that you have to put the pawns on the color. I mean,
opposite to the color of the bishop you have.
Yeah.
Well, which is not 100% true, but yeah, that's very often. Yeah, Kappa was doing this actually. He would exchange one bishop and then put the pawns on the squares.
At least it looks aesthetical. In 94, both players are absent.
Yeah, pressure. Yeah, I believe he's gonna come back to the board and play bishop e7 in practically no time. Why would you consider something else? And it does, well, now that I'm thinking of it, it does feel like the tiebreak is approaching. Getting closer and closer. Yeah, I would not say inevitable, but really, I mean, Jan chose this line with, clearly the intention not to burn the bridges today.
Yeah.
So it was, as we said at the very start, like, try a little. If it goes well, then of course, yeah, why not to play? But if there is no advantage whatsoever, then just shut down the play and prepare for the tiebreak tomorrow. Well,
I think that we can name this line in Rui Lopez as a line of lost games of the match.
Well, in a way, yeah, in a way, and it was.
But by the way, I remember the game between Kramnik and Carlsen in Qatar Masters Open 2015. I mean, like while Carlsen was half a point ahead of Kramnik, and he was fixing the tie of the tying the first place, and he
did play this line.
He did play this line with white pieces and made a draw, and then he won the tiebreak against UNE.
Right, yeah, so once again, it's really, really hard to hope for an advantage with white. We keep saying this, right? So, well, lines like that, when you have zero risk and some slight push, become more and more popular.
Yeah.
And even in some openings, I feel like black is no longer going for such positions where you have practically zero chances to win. But here it seems to be justified what Khrushchev is doing.
Okay, I can't say. I mean, it's still a game, and everything may happen. I mean, like we were considering the line after bishop e7, like for example d5, bishop g4, f3, bishop f5. I don't think that black couldn't win this position.
Yeah,
I mean,
he can. Yeah, well, anyone can win this position. Yeah. I mean, it's
just playable, and
it's playable.
I think it's just easier to play this position with black because we see the clear plan connected with taking on e4, trading the black color bishops, and transferring the knight.
Okay, let's then think how to avoid this stuff with white. Can I go knight g3? Just not to allow you your.
Yeah, well, I may include bishop
f6, rook a2. That's fine.
Yeah, if I'm not blundering anything. So it's like it doesn't look like white can take on f5. Right?
Knight f5, perhaps not here.
Yeah,
no, rook to a2, bishop g6, I suppose, and then okay. I mean, I have to say goodbye to c5 square, so I'm just playing c4. c5, you can have your knight on c5 if you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you probably do this. You go knight d7.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking about f4.
f4 in some positions, right? Also, even here, like c4, knight d7, f4, threatening f5.
Okay, well, like h6.
And then after h6, f5, bishop h7, we'll have a really funny position where white did give up all the dark squares, right? But locked the bishop on h7. Rook f2, for instance.
Okay, well, I would never play this position for white. It may be strange, but I think it just.
I'm not sure.
Very, very difficult. But the way your plan is knight h5.
Yeah, I mean, I want to stabilize. Like, for instance, rook e8, I go knight h5.
Yeah, but even if you play knight h5, I'm trying to estimate the level of danger.
And then g4 next move. No, I'm not saying, like, white is better or anything. It's just, it is a legit plan, you know.
Yeah,
I can try to play this. Trying to make a point that, yes, you do have squares on c5, on e5, but the bishop is still sort of out of the game. It is connected with strategic risk, because if one day, the bishop somehow escapes, black going g6, or I don't know what happens, but the bishop escapes, then my position is ruined, like I gave up all the squares. Yeah, bishop c3, by the way, it is a clever move. Then you put the knight on f6, and bishop might go to c5 via b4. Yeah, so it is, of course, very, very risky. Now, the feeling is like d5 is, too bold to happen in the last game of the match.
Yeah, so it's some kind of all-in, yeah.
Yeah, most likely a quiet move like c3 is going to happen. Well, Khrushchev is still thinking with his bishop on f6,
so he may consider.
Yeah, he's probably considering bishop f5. I'm still not 100% convinced that you cannot play bishop f5 with bishop on f6. You do give the pair of bishops, and black gets to develop quickly. So that's the other possibility. Yeah, in case of bishop e7, c3, bishop e6, we sort of agreed that black has little to worry about. Yeah. By the way, if black wants the symmetrical structure, then after what we were doing for white, I don't even remember here. Nothing. Yeah. White has to.
I remember that we.
Yeah, we said black's next move is
summed up.
queen d7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that, for instance, I don't know, white goes rook a2. Just, to connect the rooks this funny way. One of the ways to play for black could be going knight d7. And then I'm sort of getting ready for d5 to get the symmetrical position. I don't know how good it is to get the symmetrical position here. But if I do, if I'm satisfied with symmetry, I'm just preparing for d5. If white goes d5, we are getting back to this train of thought that black should be fine having the c5 square. So d5, bishop f5 leads more or less to the same position. And and knight d7 of course is not forced. And perhaps knight d5 is really a good point. That why don't I play the knight d5 and then whenever c4 happens, knight goes to b4. Yeah, it's not clear.
Grishuk is going to make a move, and I suppose it may be like bishop e7.
Yeah, it should be.
His hand is over the bishop.
Should be bishop e7. Yeah, this talk about not giving the bishops voluntarily, I mean, it's especially this point was made in Russian, but I believe in a lot of languages, the bishop is actually not the bishop, but the elephant, right? And then comparing horse to an elephant, it's clear that elephant is stronger. Yeah, I believe in Arabic, in Farsi, that's an elephant. And how can you compare? The elephant is much stronger. So Grishuk keeps his elephant on e7.
Is stronger, but horse is
faster. Trickier, faster. Yeah. Well, in fact, in reality, it's the bishop which is faster, right? I mean, in various endgames, like you have play on both wings, then the bishop is more useful than the knight shifting from one side of the board to the other. So elephant moves to e7, and now the horse looks useless on e4.
Horse is restricted with elephant.
Yeah. Okay, in many positions we were moving to f5, so perhaps white can start with...
Queen d3?
Ah, well, queen d3 is a good point.
Yes, but still you can play bishop f5, because of d4.
Bishop f5 is possible, knight f6, that was the trick, but bishop d4, getting the pawn and playing, this is just no compensation whatsoever. And knight g3 feels a bit too artificial, too clever to be true.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't see what stops you from playing knight d5. You just go knight d5 and threaten knight c3.
Yeah, it's just a good position for black.
Yep.
I mean, I can't say that it's a bad position for white, but if black's task was to equalize from the opening, I think that they already did.
Yeah, the feeling is that kind of couple of moves left for white, and he might. I mean, if you do not pose problems within next couple of moves, then you lose the momentum, and black is absolutely solid. So it's like if you allow bishop f5, queen d7, then nothing bad can happen. So if anything, it still has to be d5, even though we failed to find what the problem is. We can't think of anything. I mean, it's like d5, bishop f5 is practically... well, it's not forced, by the way,
You mean for black?
We said bishop f5, but coming back to the move that you've mentioned, like if black goes f5, which is of course very responsible move, right? But as long as knight g5 is not possible, so the drawback of the obvious drawback of f5 is that you're kind of weakening the e6 square.
Yeah.
But at the same time you get some
by the way,
space,
And I can't find a good square for the knight because
you go to g3.
Yeah, g3. I thought I have
f4
and f3.
By f3. That's correct.
Yeah, well, like...
That's correct.
If knight h5...
There is bishop g4, And then let's go crazy. Rook e7, bishop takes d1, rook g7, and bishop b2.
Yeah. Crazy, but enough to win the game.
Does it win the game?
Like, I have to play bishop takes
h5, rook g6, black is an exchange up. Whoa.
I think white is an exchange up.
Oh, white, pardon. Yeah. White is an exchange up, so white is winning. How did it happen? Once again, this variation, even though exciting, has nothing to do with reality. Bishop g4, rook e7, and then black just doesn't have to be greedy. You take on h5.
Yes, but I take on g7.
Ah, you take on g7 and queen h5.
Just
and
winning for white.
Yeah, this looks very promising.
Yes, I take
queen
on h5 first. Like, maybe
bishop b2 is a huge threat, right?
Yeah, well, you have to play queen f6, but...
Oh, well, probably not winning. Rook b1, queen g6.
I think it's still...
Or knight d7. No, wait, knight d7 was...
Ah, well,
no,
yeah. Knight d7, queen g4, so that's why
that's
first.
Annoying. Queen g6 first, bishop b2 then. King goes. And...
Maybe queen f...
Funny enough.
Queen h3, I think.
Ah, queen h3 is the good point. With bishop d3 to come.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, still you can take on d5, but after bishop c4.
No,
but
bishop d3.
Bishop d3. Yes. And there is no
That's
defense.
it, yeah, queen f7, there is a check
winning.
from g4.
Yeah, so I mean, like, a pair of bishops and this bad king may...
But how did we get to this position, once again? It was f5.
Yeah, I was trying to push with black, but all of a sudden I have weakened my king.
Bishop g4, and then this funny rook takes e7.
Wow, queen e1 is played, by the way.
Jan has played some sneaky move, queen to e1. Which is not that easy to understand.
Is he threatening something?
Not that easy to understand, to be honest.
Yes, well, what is a threat?
You can't go, I mean, that's what he's trying to say. You can't go bishop to... Well, you actually can. Yeah, I thought bishop f5, and then he answers it with knight g3, attacking both bishops. But you still can go bishop e6, obviously. So it is a possible move. There is nothing wrong with starting with queen e1.
Maybe the idea that now I can play c4.
c4.
And the point that if you play d5, I can play c5, and then rook e6 is hanging somewhere. Yeah. Okay, well, but it's a complete cooperation because, like, bishop f5. I mean, just gaining a few tempos at once is not what
bishop e6
Grishuk would really do.
Start with.
Yeah, bishop e6 or probably, I don't know, maybe knight d5.
Or a favorite knight d5 move. Oh well, then he's gonna play bishop d2.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point.
Yeah, probably.
Bishop d2 to try to force b7, well, attacking the a5 pawn at least. And then c4 very next move so that no knight b4.
Yeah, okay, well, but like, all of a sudden, can I still play knight b4?
If
and
white takes, then there is d5.
Funnily enough, that there is still no c4 threat because of bishop knight b4. I mean, like, for example, let's make a silly move.
Bishop f5 is not so silly.
And bishop g4 is not so silly.
f3 first, yeah, to try.
Yeah, so usually when we try to find a silly move, we're finding like one of the best in position.
Bishop f5, yeah.
Yeah. Or bishop, yeah, bishop f5.
Bishop f5.
Well,
yeah, and once again, let's show this one, so that if white goes c4, black apparently has knight b4. And takes.
Yeah, so there is no queen b4, probably because of d5.
Is refuted with d5, it seems. Knight c5, b6, and this pin decides the game for white.
Yeah.
Right, so this is not possible, and then there is no point in trying to play c4 because you don't want to allow knight b4.
So bishop e7.
Bishop e7, queen to
e1.
And then Alexander Grishuk is thinking, not being present at the board. Once again, for those who might be new to this coverage, who only chose to join today, that's became sort of a habit for Krishuk, that he's not seated at the board. He's in the players' rest area where they have e-coffee as well as huge monitors with the positions, or in our case, the position, because that's the only game going.
Yeah, well, so Queen E1. Okay, but this move is kind of multi-proposal. Like we're taking A5 pawn on the control.
Somewhere the E-file might play its role.
Yeah, so strategically, I like this kind of move.
Well, coming back to F7, F5 idea, is it valid here?
That's a good question. So if I'll try to be more or less principled and
Knight C5,
check Knight C5, yeah.
Knight C5, that's what I thought, because in case of Knight G3, Bishop F6, it seems that black is
okay.
Right in time, yeah. Right in time to stabilize. Knight C5 is a critical test, but I don't really see how white is supposed to continue after Bishop F6. Because taking the knight might be dangerous. You take on E7, you're invading the 7th rank, but Bishop F6, and then Knight E6 I just take, and take the D4 guy, yeah. Not much of a compensation that I can see. Well, there is some perhaps after C3, you know, but it's not that black is in any danger. It's this type of compensation that white is trying to say, okay, I'm not worse, yeah.
Yeah.
And he might still be. He might still be Knight D7, you know, Rook E8, starting to trade everything.
Yeah, so
no, this kind
better
of
position for black.
This kind of pawn sacrifice is not.
Yeah, well, so F5.
F5. So you probably do something else. You are not sacrificing the pawn, but then I'm not sure what do you do. Knight to G3. Perhaps.
Okay, as well as you said that.
Oh, Bishop F6, yeah. Well, there it might be a bit tricky. Let me go C3. And then the point is I want to play Knight H5. It's like ideally black would like to play G6 here to restrict the knight and everything, but then after Bishop H6 you have to go Bishop G7. There is no Rook E8. You have to go Bishop G7. Maybe you're still fine with this exchange because it does simplify the position and there is no obvious way white can capitalize on
knight is restricted.
Controlling the E file. So you do have a check on E7, black goes Rook F7, yeah? Says not impressed. Well, such positions sometimes it's like you still have to be precise, like takes, Queen D2, you know. Queen D2, opting to H4, if King G7, Rook E1. But yeah, it's fairly simplified.
You
Queen
can
H6, Queen G7, Queen H4, well, a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
But not so much. You can still play Bishop D7, then Rook E8. Yeah, usually those positions, they are like a tiny bit to try for white, but if black's precise, that nothing bad should happen. So apart from
so we've concluded that
couple of decent moves, yeah. Bishop F5, Knight D5,
Knight D5
was still not refuted, and even F5, a move which would indicate some aggressive intentions from black. So it's like not that he's forced to play F5.
Yeah, but I think that we shouldn't expect aggressive intentions from Grishuk today. Playing with black,
on his opening choice as well, right? I mean, if you want like a big fight with black, you go C5. You play the Sicilian. And apart from Sveshnikov, which Grishuk played today, he's once again one of the players who is ready to play the knight of. So he could go for C5, D6, and then play the knight of variation. Would he want to? You know, would he want a big fight? So once again, no players on stage, and I'm wondering what is the situation with the time, because yesterday at some point it was worrisome. The fact that Grishuk had practically no time left for like last 10 moves.
But we have some technical issues and I can't really see the time.
You can see, well, possibly we can try to see it from the camera view if we could get a close up on the clock, because I believe Jan is on like 1 hour 15 something. So
And Grishuk is like
he didn't spend all that much time.
45.
Grishuk in this case perhaps has, yeah, so here we are, 53, 115. That's not, not much of an issue so far. It's move 15 we are talking about, right? Move 15. Queen e1. Okay. What else? I'm just thinking, I mean, okay, it's a little bit strange, but can I really play rook e8? Self pin, Rook e8. I'm not sure what white wants in this position.
So, by the way, if I continue to go crazy and play bishop g5.
Bishop g5. Yeah, the point obviously is that black cannot take because of knight f6. Yeah, that's clear. But the funny part is that I can't see a threat. So if I go bishop f5, for instance, bishop takes e7, I assume.
Yeah, can I take?
And then
rook e7 and king f8.
Rook takes e7, yeah, check on f6, king f8. And then the moment we are starting to trade everything, the black's position becomes better.
Yeah, because also c2
yeah,
pawn
the
is
c2
hanging.
pawn is hanging.
Okay, well, yeah,
so
maybe just bishop f5 is probably a
bishop
refutation.
f5 and then and from now on my rook on e8 is protected, right? So very next move I'm threatening to capture on g5.
Rook e8. That's interesting.
Rook e8. I'm not sure why would I prefer rook e8 compared to other moves we looked at. But even such moves seems to be possible. So I'm really puzzled with this queen e1. What else he might want? Yeah, he'll probably play bishop d2. Yeah, that was the problem. Yeah, that he's gonna play bishop d2, and then I have to care about a5 pawn.
Or probably it's just too late.
Yeah, in this case I'm not sure how do I keep it alive. Yeah, rook e8 is silly. So Grishuk's back to the board.
Yes, we were considering bishop f5, f5, and knight d5 as alternatives.
Three possible moves. By the way, after bishop f5, what happens if white still goes bishop d2? We said that's the idea, and for some reason we didn't play.
Forgot to.
Yeah, forgot to apply it here, because it does attack an a5 pawn, and it is sort of not comfortable, right?
Yeah, well, so if knight d5
knight
there.
d5. Well, I was hoping to take on a5. You have knight f4, and we go home happily. Knight back to d5, and you repeat.
Yeah, it looks
which
like
does seem logical for both. Yeah, it's like white cannot really move the rook because then bishop e4, rook e5.
And the point that it's very important that if we take there, queen e4,
takes,
rook a5 protecting the
protects
d5
the
line,
knight.
so
Yeah.
everything is
protects
protected.
the knight. Everything's protected. Black is just up material.
Just winning. Yeah.
Black's up material. So well, as odd as it looks, bishop f5 is possible to start with. Yeah.
But what we didn't like in bishop f5, probably something simple like knight g3, bishop e6, and
c4.
Yeah,
that's
c4.
what we said. Yeah, if d5, then c5, and it is annoying.
Okay, well maybe, but it's just still okay for black. So I said that there is an idea to sacrifice an exchange,
and we stopped right here. Yeah,
but we didn't really
rook e6.
evaluate the consequences after the sacrifice.
Rook e6, pawn takes, queen takes, king to h8, and some move here. Or it might be
You mean just
not as
normal?
dangerous, yeah? Might be not as dangerous.
Yeah, because like if you take on d5, I think, I mean at least knight f6, Okay, well, knight f6, queen c4 is just a very complicated position. Like maybe just double-edged. Also c6 is just a normal move.
c6, yeah.
Then probably bishop f6
So
or
two
bishop
pawns
g5.
for an exchange, yeah?
Yeah.
And very hard to navigate this position. Yeah, queen c4 and bishop f6, who knows what happens.
So probably...
But that's one of the ways this game is actually getting complicated.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, after c4, can we play bishop f6? Just not allowing all this nonsense with sacrifices.
Yeah, I think we can, but like bishop b2.
Bishop b2, and then...
Like, well, you mean like d5 again?
Well, d5 here would more or less lead to the same, yeah. If white wants it, he can go c5 and then try to sack on e6. c8. Yeah, but then this knight is somewhat getting stuck, or not really.
I think it's just playable.
Alexander was about to make a move, and his hand was over his b6 knight. So the feeling is like he's planning for knight d5.
Yeah, I think not knight d7. Knight d7 looks a bit passive.
Knight d7 is a bit too much.
Yeah,
perhaps.
knight d5 is normal.
Knight
Move.
to d7 or d5?
I think d5. Okay, well, like playing b3, a4, allowing some ideas connected with knight d5, knight b4. It's very hard to, I mean, to resist to play knight d5.
And indeed it's played. So now, wait a sec. What's knight c3?
You mean there?
Isn't it two bishops we were looking for?
Well,
it is.
All of a sudden.
I don't see a move. You have to take on c3, then white.
Yeah, but maybe there is something very
a knight b4.
Suspicious. Yeah.
I would be really surprised if this works. So takes on e7, knight c2, we go, say, queen e4, even queen d1, you're right. Queen d1, so queen e7, queen c2 obviously better for white, so you kind of have to take the rook. And then I don't see this knight escaping. You go rook e3, yeah, rook e3, bishop f5 though. Still tricky.
Yeah, man, you can play rook e2, I think.
Rook e2.
And if bishop f5, just rook a2.
Rook a2.
And I think this
and
is just,
we have
it's a huge advantage, I mean, positional.
Yeah, usually. Yeah, well, that will lead to this one of unusual and one of my favorite material balances. So 3 minor pieces for 2 rooks, but here rooks are not very active, so knight c2, rook takes, bishop
okay,
a2.
well, it may be not as bad as
it seems, yeah.
Like instantly, but
in a
long run, it may be just losing.
Usually
and it's usually it's easier just to play with 3 minor pieces against, like, even against the queen, I think. Okay, well, like usually.
So after knight c3.
Yeah, it's a nice I mean, it's a very good intention because
if knight takes, then e7.
Firstly,
I don't see how it
I just
works
blundered
for black.
knight c3.
Don't see how it works for black. I mean,
like,
there is no tactic, right? Like bishop e6, I can take on e6.
Yep.
That's the point. I can still go bishop f5 though. Don't see why it's all that bad.
Yes, but I think like f3. Or maybe something else, I mean. Maybe f3 is just useless.
Knight d5, knight b4, that was kind of
idea.
So bishop f5 with the intention to go knight, knight d5 and knight b4.
Well, if I play, for example, bishop c4, provoking you to play d5,
then I might be provoked to play d5.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I just go back.
Just go back. But then knight e4, and I'm not sure if this
I
makes its
thought
way out of it.
rook e5 and then
Bishop
f3.
g6,
Ah, you mean like f6 is...
f3, f6. I mean, it
No, but
gets very sharp.
but
yeah.
it's...
Rook takes d5. That's a nice point. And if queen takes, there is bishop c4. Unnecessary for black to...
I mean, it might
go
be
for all
something, but I
those.
really like your knight c3 idea for white, I mean. And it's... I mean, it's very possible to blunder this kind of move. Like, usually when you're starting to...
Initially
you start with
blunt, yeah?
we start with c4, and then after c4 knight before you realize that you're just okay, and all of a sudden you just stop, I mean, looking at this direction, I mean, like, disturbing the knight on d5, but all of a sudden just knight can simply go back knight c3 and...
Yeah, the hard part in finding knight c3 move is that you, couple of moves back, you just went knight c3 to e4.
Yeah.
And usually
And
you are not looking
like,
for
in
return
your mind it
moves.
seems a bit illogical to...
Yeah. But it does get white a pair of bishops. At least we can't
we don't see the refutation.
Yeah, we don't see how to refute it. So perhaps he has to take...
Seems so.
Maybe just to go back to d5 immediately.
Yeah, well, like...
Rook goes to e2 and put this guy on b4 immediately.
Okay. And now
With
maybe...
bishop f5 to follow, right?
Mhm.
Because I suppose c3, knight d3, it's nothing.
Yeah, well, if I play something like queen d2...
Queen d2, preparing for c3. Bishop f5,
So then
c3,
c3.
knight d3, bishop a3, and the knight on d3 is in danger. Right?
Yeah, so usually I just...
Yeah,
I mean,
this knight will...
I stop calculating at this point. It might be something there for white.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, it's like I still don't see how this knight is lost
Risking.
because rook e3 there is knight f4, but
yeah, but then like rook f3 just
but
continue.
yeah, but I can imagine this one being annoying for black.
Yeah.
And you know, and if something like that happens, if knight c3 and white is getting a pair of bishops, it doesn't necessarily mean that black is terribly bad, but we have the game, we have some factors which are in white's favor, and you know,
Obviously.
combined with the fact that Grishuk will, if he overlooked knight c3, then
He'll
he will
spend, like,
spend a lot of time.
20 minutes more at
And
least.
It will be, it will be a chance for Jan, because rare occasion where we have both players at the board. So Grishuk keeps thinking.
So maybe
So
he
I
just...
really feel like it is possible that he overlooked knight c3. I mean, as simple as it is. I mean, there is not a lot of calculation involved. Yeah. If black takes on c3, you take on e7. What's the big thing? The problem I have is to consider knight c3. Or
So again, like...
the other possibility is we are missing something
Very
very
simple.
simple. Yeah, that's also should not be. But I don't really see a move, to be honest. Apart from knight takes.
So again, I think that we should remind that also, instead of knight d5, which, I mean, was refuted with knight c3 in our analysis at least, we had an we were considering bishop f5, knight g3, yeah, or like if bishop d2, knight d5, no.
Here.
Yeah, but
And
is there
here
any
we still blundered, or not really.
Yeah, knight c3 is
Knight
played.
c3 played. Yeah, in this case that we have on our analysis board with the inclusion of bishop f5, bishop d2, here it's less clear, however, because
Yeah, because
knight
we can
c3,
take
knight takes,
and go back,
rook takes e7, knight goes back to d5,
and we
and
just
then
take
you
on
have
c2.
to give the c2
Yeah.
c2 pawn. In case of rook e2, bishop c2, black should be totally fine because b3 is hanging as well.
Yeah, I think just better.
Yep. So knight c3, and this does look like a very unpleasant surprise for Grishuk. Let's see what he's going to do now. No, it doesn't look like a surprise.
Or maybe he just
he
realized
or
that
maybe-
knight
yeah.
c3 is an only move there.
Maybe he realized, yeah, after all, was it a surprise or not?
Yeah,
If it's the only move which doesn't lose the game on a spot,
yeah, I
then
think
you just
we
make
will
it.
know about it just after the game.
Yeah, then you just make it. But you can see what a change that was. Krishuk, who was absent at the board even when his clock was up.
Yeah, so this
Now
psychological
he's-
aspect.
Yeah, he's seated and clearly something is not going his way, let's say. I do believe Jan will take on e7, of course, where knight back to d5 seems to be one. Well, we said so far the knight on c3 is not hanging.
Yeah,
so
so
it
we
is
can make
possible that black's gonna play another move.
like bishop f5.
What could
No, but
be?
there is no sense in bishop f5. We don't
What was-
create a threat. Yeah, I think bishop
what was
f5,
a problem with bishop f5?
bishop c4 there. And then if d5, then bishop f1 back again. I think this
Yeah,
one.
that was the line.
And now like at least rook f7 is hanging.
Now white is threatening to take on f7.
And
indeed.
rook e3 also.
Rook e3 is also a threat. Yeah, that's not the position you're happy with.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So again like d5, bishop f1.
The bishop f1, and now
But again like as well but bishop e3 is also in
bishop a3 also will protect
Yeah.
the rook. So now the rook on e7 in fact is not in danger whatsoever. So after knight e4 we were looking at some tactical possibilities, but even if no such, white can play bishop a3 and
Yeah.
he will be better.
Yeah, well, so it's
So it does
Not
seem
so
that
clear.
yeah, it does seem that Krishuk, well, is not in the most comfortable spot, at the most comfortable spot now. After
yeah, but he'll never know how Grishuk evaluates his position himself. I mean, like because emotionally he's trying to be like with the same face, with the same emotions all the time. I mean,
well,
so
poker practice.
yeah, poker
you know.
practice. You would never read it.
So he's known. I mean, I don't think he plays any longer, but at some point he was playing poker on a decent level,
Yeah.
so to speak. Right. So one more time, what black has to do? Return to d5 immediately. That was the final conclusion, right? Knight back to d5
Yeah.
immediately. Rook to e2. And okay, let's not fall apart. Let's find some setup that black will be happy with. Rook e7 played, yeah. Bishop f5, we said. What was the move? We had it, right?
Did we? No, we didn't. We considered knight b4 instead
knight
of,
b4
and then queen d2 probably.
Yeah, so bishop f5 to keep the knight on d5 for as long as possible. Well, maybe it's not so bad for black, in fact. Because c4 is never comfortable, right? c4 knight always jumps to b4. To try to control the b4 square beforehand doesn't seem to be possible.
Yeah,
bishop d2 allows
bishop
a
takes
capture.
c2.
Bishop a3, it's kind of bishop goes the wrong way, and there is also an option of knight f4.
Yeah.
Especially when white plays c4. So perhaps it's no big thing. It's just that out of symmetrical position, you get already like two bishops for white, and
The most important thing in this position that a4 e5 inclusion is obviously there in black's favor, because otherwise if we imagine
Yeah,
that
with
pawns
pawns on
a2 and a7, I think black's position would be just
no, then after
difficult.
c4, yeah, after
Yeah.
c4, imagine the pawns on a2 and a5.
Maybe just
yeah,
technical, yeah.
No knight b4 move. Then after c4, yeah, white simply has much better position. So being as it is, yeah, perhaps it's not that easy to find a move for
But
white
wait, maybe still I have to play c4, knight
Knight to
b4,
b4.
and then something like queen c3.
Yeah, but here at least I have bishop d3.
Yeah.
So getting rid of one of the bishops feels okay.
Yeah.
Feels okay. Then trade goes rook e8. I mean, in somewhat simplistic fashion. Shouldn't be that much of an issue. so I can play I know c3 is the same thing. You go
Like bishop
d3
d3.
immediately.
Like if you trade a pair of bishops in position knight and bishop against the pair of bishops, so it becomes knight against the bishop, the power of bishop decreases in times.
Not that I can see a comfortable way for white. It's like some, if there is some clever move.
Yeah, but if I just continue with the same idea, playing queen d2
in order to play c3.
Yeah. Yeah, but comparing to the position after knight b4 instead of bishop f5, like this one. I mean, in this position we are winning a couple of tempos playing c3, very next move.
c3 and
but
then the knight goes back.
But there, I mean, maybe it's still like slightly
Queen
better
d2.
for white, but I think at least black might have something. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of very concrete. You have to once again have to be precise with both colors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, maybe it's just still very remains unclear. I mean, what do I mean in saying the word unclear? Like, if white has something, or is just totally equal?
b6, or I mean, just some waiting move. I want to see how does that unfold if black plays reasonable move. So b6, just to make sure that a5 is never hanging.
And maybe now I can try bishop e3 all of a sudden.
a3
with an idea to play c4, d5, and
then
bishop b2.
Then the knight is not getting. And even in this case, how much of an advantage that one is. So once again, this inclusion of a4 and a5, which we've mentioned like
in
billion times. Yeah, queen to d7, for instance. And then if you want to play c4, I just go back to f6. That's okay.
Play d5,
d5,
or should I?
Yeah,
that's
d5.
The point.
I'll jump to e4 and to c5 once again.
Maybe I can play
f3.
a clever
You
move,
try
yeah.
to restrict me completely. Rook
then
a to e8.
And then rook a to a, then g4.
G4, bishop goes, and h4. Yeah, well, you do get a lot of space. Yeah. Yeah, this is like. Even if it's not really bad for black, it's clearly a one-sided game.
Yeah.
So black is on the defensive, white is making the plays. Yeah.
So, but now we found the way how white can.
White can actually try to control
improve,
the situation. Yeah. Well, Alexander is thinking after rook takes e7. So going perhaps through all of those lines that we were looking at with bishop, starting with bishop f5.
Yes, but I do not see anything else. Okay, well, we said that bishop f5
that was
has some minuses connected with bishop c4.
Well, still here there might be something.
Okay, rook f7 is a threat.
Rook f7 is a threat.
Yes.
The knight is.
And also rook e3 is a threat.
Rook e3 is a threat.
At some point.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So if I go d5, we said bishop goes back to f1.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe there is. Yeah, but again, we mentioned that there is like bishop e3.
There is bishop a3 positional move, and there is also rook e5 followed by f3.
Yeah.
Right? Rook e5, yeah. Then probably I shouldn't really try to trap the rook. I should play queen d7 and then accept that. Okay, it is a worse position.
Yeah, like f3.
f3. Well, all the awkward moves. Knight f6.
Yeah, but now I think that I have just an ideal pawn structure. I mean, the only drawback of my pawn structure that c2 pawn is hanging immediately. But if I just simply defend
you don't want to push the c pawn. Yeah, you want to keep it on c2.
Yes.
Well, maybe. Yeah, queen c2, bishop f4. Yeah, it's once again, it's out of question.
It looks very aesthetical for white. I mean, then I play g4, and I like the way how I'm restricting the knight because like it's restricted totally for the long run.
Yeah, I mean, there are such positions that, well, in some positions you can say, yes, I'm tiny bit not in time, but if only I would have time to bring my piece to some particular square. Here, if you think black has all the time in the world, where this knight belongs from f6? I don't really see a good square for this knight.
Yeah, me too.
Right, it's like white really built up the pawn structure in such a way that there's simply no place for black pieces. Really, queen to c3, then bishop to, then g5, f4. You possibly push the g pawn, bring the other rook to e1. So it's clear that white has, well, some advantage. Yeah. Once again, perhaps it's not much just yet, but it will be really, really unpleasant. So coming back to the moment where Krzysztof allowed knight c3, I do believe that, yeah, perhaps he had to try something else. Yeah, but bishop f5 was interesting,
Yeah, or
and
f5.
and f5. Yeah, f5. It's not the move that you necessarily like to play, but it seems that it was possible.
Yeah,
Once again, we failed to find.
Yeah, we failed to find the proper
Like
way
a-
after knight g3, bishop f6, c3.
c3, and then black can play g6. We said, right?
Yeah,
G6, bishop h6, and even this shouldn't be all that scary. Queen d2.
yeah. Maybe I should have
Maybe king
start with
g7
king
was
g7
fine.
first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rook to e1, bishop to d7, and
or queen f6 or bishop d7.
perhaps bishop d7. Yeah,
It's
and it's
just-
hard to imagine
it's
what
just okay.
what's going to stop black from from playing queen f6 and rook e8, or queen f8 and rook e8.
Yeah, I think the only thing that after queen f6, white will follow up with c4. I mean,
Well, so a5 pawn will
chaining the
be-
rook, but I mean, like still.
Well, there might be, since you've mentioned c4, I actually think that it might be better for white. Because c4 and then a5 is hanging.
Yeah,
Then white will try to remaneuver the
it
knight.
might be not
somewhere.
that pleasant. Maybe
Yeah,
there
so
is
it could
something
be that
else.
this
yeah.
is the position which Grishuk didn't like and therefore didn't go for f5.
Yeah, but instead of f5, there
There
was
bishop
also
f5.
bishop f5.
Yeah, bishop f5 that we thought should be acceptable, should lead to acceptable position.
Yeah, so then like if bishop d2 again, we said that knight d5
Knight
in
d5
this
is
very
possible
position is
now.
possible
And
because
this
of
time we
knight
checked.
c3
Yeah, knight
we
c3
take,
it's a
rook
serious
takes, and
difference.
just knight d5
back
back.
to d5.
Like bishop d2, bishop f5 inclusion is in favor of black. And if after knight g3, I mean if knight g3, bishop e6, nothing is hanging, and if c4, yes, I think we can simply give white a chance to sacrifice an
Yeah,
exchange,
to go d5 and knight d7. Yeah,
and this position is just playable and
yeah
probably just okay for black. I mean, like knight is going to d5, and
yeah, that will be a really, really unbalanced position because
Yeah.
anything can happen. Yes, white has his own trumps, right? But the
Yeah,
same way black does.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the pawn structure is
So far, white is not like getting to the king or something.
Yeah.
So that would be just one complex position where black would have his chances.
so Grishuk decided to go.
Knight d5.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I would not be surprised if he blundered knight c3.
Yeah, because
It's-
it's not so hard to blunder as you can see. I mean, like
That's like
you found this move after like 15 minutes of analysis, and also we have an option to put the moves in the
yeah. So we are moving the pieces
yeah,
around
on
and
the
see-
computer.
so the problem with knight c3 is not, once again, it's not a hard calculation behind it, but it's not easy to consider.
Yeah,
Like white went knight c3 to e4, and then a couple of moves later he goes back to c3.
yeah. First of all, you're considering the moves. I mean, moving forward, but moving back is not so easy to find in any position. Sometimes even with takings, even with captures.
Yeah, for those who want to improve in chess, there are like exercises on this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, some positions where, once again, not a lot of calculation, but some unexpected moves to consider.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
I remember one of the shameful moments in my career when I was a decent grandmaster at that time, and I didn't take a piece in a couple of moves. It was a very, very strange tactic, which was not necessarily in the position, but after my opponent's move, I could take, something very simple. I'm taking the piece. When he takes back, it's check, and I'm taking his rook. But the whole idea was that I was under attack, and my pieces were not developed. And then finally, in this position, when it occurred, I see that I can actually move my rook, bring it to the play. I mean, develop the piece. And the fact that you are told from the childhood that you have to develop your pieces, you have to set everything into play, it kind of stops you from considering other moves.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's another pattern that we were following from the childhood.
Yeah, so it's good thing to follow the basic rules,
Yeah.
and good players do so, but the best
but
players, they are actually able to think outside the box and
Yeah.
to find the exceptions. So that indeed
That's right.
was an exception for White. So White seemingly brought the knight to e4, and yeah, first thing we were trying here before finding knight c3, we were trying all the active moves, you know, pseudo
Yeah, but
active.
probably just like in this position, okay, obviously like afterwards, after Jan Nepomniachtchi played knight c3, but then I'm starting to rethink, like, if, for example, I'm trying to get to this position with tactical approach, not strategical. I mean, like, we can see that, I can't say that knight is overloaded, but I mean, we can create a threat. I mean, like, we have doubled on e-file,
Yeah.
the bishop is defended twice and we are attacking it twice. So what we have to do is we have to, I mean, we have to get the
attack this
knight out of
somehow.
d5 square. So that's why, like, if we start to think more or less, I mean, I can't say, yeah, tactically, but
What I'm really ready to claim, that it's easier to find knight c3 if you're given this position
as an exercise.
as an exercise.
Yeah.
So you don't know what was happening before that. You don't know that the knight went to e4 just a move ago.
That's
Yeah, so if you're given this position, you say, well, try to find an idea for White, then you come up with knight c3, because
that's 100%
it
true.
does give White a pair of bishops advantage, and what we think now, it does give White some positional advantage in the game.
Yes, because during the game it's very difficult to find a tactic on the spot when
It's still somehow you are, you know, linking what's happening on the board with the previous course
Yes,
of the
yes.
game. It's like when you were attacked for most part of the game, you still think of the defense even though the situation might have changed, and stuff like that. So knight to d5 back was played by Krysiuk. So he decides that this rook has to be pushed away.
so probably rook e2.
Rook e2.
Yeah, because rook e4, bishop e5, there are no squares for rook on the fourth rank,
Mhm.
and also c2 pawn is hanging, so that's why rook e2
Rook
is
e2.
expected, and then bishop f5 probably.
Yeah, that was the best we could find. Bishop to f5. Well, queen f6
Yeah,
is no
queen
different,
f6.
right? Queen f6 is no different. He still goes queen d2.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
what I thought. It's like White wants to play queen d2, and possibly even return to e1 with the rook, so that some knight f4 will come without the tempo.
Yeah, bishop f5 looks more or less natural.
Then one more time, if White goes c4, Black is ready to go knight b4, and knight c2
And,
is a threat,
and trace something.
and bishop d3 is a threat. So in this case, Black is sort of okay. But our problem after bishop f5 was that White still preventively plays queen to g2, I guess. Yeah, that was, yeah. So first queen d2.
And again, like, we're trying to remain the flexible pawn structure. I mean,
Yeah, for White. Yeah, so
Yeah.
not going c4 too early. Then if Black does nothing, if Black goes queen f6, we probably just play c3, right? This might be acceptable for Black.
yeah,
C3, and then try to exchange the rooks with rook e8.
I think also we were considering some ideas connected with bishop a3,
Bishop a3 first.
taking the
and
b4
then,
square.
Yeah, and then playing c4.
But you know, like, the problem that after playing c4, I'm not sure that after knight b4 I can take on b4. I mean, I can take, but I don't see the
d4 pawn
benefit.
is
Yeah.
hanging.
Okay, well, like, we can play bishop a3, then probably we
Well, for
just
the time being,
follow.
it's not clear what White is doing, because sorry, what Black is doing. Okay, rook e8, White goes rook a1 to e1. If Black takes, White takes back,
Yeah, so you mean, like,
takes, and then
it's difficult for black to create a threat, of
yeah.
even of a trade or whatever.
So it's like you'll have to play b6 one day, right? rook goes back to e1.
Yeah, but then maybe no, but yeah, g3 looks
No,
a bit
you
awkward.
play rook e1 because in many cases this rook is threat.
Yeah, so now like
trained.
bishop b5 is also
Bishop
becomes the
b5
threat.
is also the positional idea to control the e8. It is an unpleasant position for black.
Absolutely.
Once again, might be defendable, but it is an unpleasant position.
And the point that in the position with a pair of bishops, okay, well, like if you are fixing the pawn structure, it is not always bad. But while you have a choice, it's a good thing.
Better,
yeah. But while if, for example, like b6, I mean, it's a possible move. But after b6, it allows white to create new threats, and now
Yeah,
rook e1
getting more
Yeah.
squares. Yeah. So now, yeah, that's once again we were referring to the situation. How do you arrange your pawns when you have one bishop? Yeah, and typically in our case, it does seem that black is doing everything right. So he puts the pawns on the dark squares, and then bishop will control the light squares. That's okay. But when your opponent has two bishops, it's not really clear where you have to put the pawns. You restrict one, but then you release the other.
Yeah, so the main idea when you're defending against a pair of bishops, okay, well, I can say defending because usually the pair of bishops is stronger.
Pair of bishops is
Yeah.
the advantage. You want to exchange one of
Yeah,
them.
you want to exchange one of them. Yeah, obviously.
And it's not that easy in our case, right?
Yeah, well, so what black has to do? I mean, bishop f5 is the most considerable.
This way or another, he has to develop. So bishop f5. I don't see a point in putting the bishop somewhere else. So perhaps you do go bishop f5 just because you need to develop it. It's like, wait, b6 and then keeping an option of bishop a6 in some positions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is sort of clever. Because I might force you to play c4.
And if I do it? No, but you should play bishop g4 first.
Bishop g4 first, which forces f3. Yeah, coming back to our line, knight b4, I guess.
And then I play bishop a3.
You go bishop a3, right.
Well, you can play queen
I
f6.
can try to play queen f6.
Or probably c5.
Yeah, c5 I wasn't sure. I mean,
because like
for as long as I can, I would not really play. Yeah, queen f6, kind of like it.
Well, like rook d1, I suppose.
Rook d1. So now that you are threatening to capture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and c5 looks, it's not equal. Black will be stable on the queen side, but then white takes, puts the bishop on b2.
Yeah, so
It's by no means equal.
you don't want to open the diagonals and the files for rooks and for bishops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so bishop g4
Bishop
is played.
g4 played in the game. Bishop g4 provoking f3. Bishop to f5.
Personally, I wasn't sure that. I mean, like f3 pawn is.
Yeah, might be a useful move for white.
Somewhat.
Yeah, might be a useful move for
that
white.
really helps black.
Yeah, I believe there is some tactical justification to it. That it's in some position it might be that queen f6 comes with a tempo, and then d4 is hanging with a check. Yeah. So it's of course.
But at the same time, it allows white to play g4 in some
g4
ends.
immediately, and even h4 to fall.
Yeah.
As perhaps is a bit too aggressive while the pieces are still,
on the board.
undeveloped. Yeah. But in some positions, yeah.
And the pawn structure is not fixed.
What happens if Nepomniachtchi does what we were doing in case of an
like
immediate
queen
bishop
d2?
f5? Yeah, so just saying, okay, I don't see the difference. I'll just play queen d2. I want to play c3 and develop my stuff. Not yet clear why f3 is a useful, useful for black. Yeah,
or useless for white. I mean,
it does control some squares, and especially if the knight is pushed back to f6, then you're very happy that your opponent forced you to play f3 because it already restricts the knight.
Yeah, and we'll gain some tempos playing G4,
Yeah,
G4 and G5.
G4 will be. So
Yeah, so Queen D2.
I don't see it. Don't see it. I'm not sure what Black's supposed to do. Okay, how about yeah, Queen F6 nevertheless. Then we said Bishop
A3,
right?
Yeah, why not?
Bishop A3, and this is the moment Black takes on C2, justifying F3. So at least we figured out what the difference is, because here it does work. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me that yes. Yeah.
Queen takes, Queen D4 check, and then take the rook.
So that's the point.
So he provokes F3.
Yeah, but Queen
Well,
D2
Queen D2
still.
played. Yeah. Yeah. White is not forced to go Bishop A3. It was like a convenient way to to bring the rook to E1, but he might. What was the move? Queen F6, right?
Yeah.
He might as well go Bishop B2.
Two.
Yeah. Or C3. Can I play C3 simply? So kind of postponing the whole thing.
Yeah, I
I'll
think
play
you can,
C3.
But then like Rook F, I'm trying.
Then in case of Bishop B2, E3 square might be used.
At least to
Yeah, I agree.
fight for an open file.
I agree, because now E3 square might be used. So if you go Bishop B2, Black captures, right? On E2.
Yeah,
or
and play Rook E8.
well, maybe Queen takes. So if the Bishop takes, then yeah, I agree, Rook E8. If the Queen takes, some Knight F4.
so
Yeah, it doesn't look all that nice for White. Like he's getting some squares.
Yeah, well, Knight F4,
Knight
Queen
F4.
E3.
Bishop to C2, for instance. It's like it won't be easy to get rid of this knight on F4, or it will be. Yeah, still I cannot play Rook E8, which I really would like to.
Yeah, and if King F8, I just play Rook
Yeah,
A1.
King F8 is not ideal.
C3 is also an option. Yeah, so
Yeah, first
and this exact position, Bishop C2 is a threat. And
right,
Bishop
Alexander does it absolutely the other way. So not playing Queen F6, just going Rook E8. So
yeah, so now I've got it probably that he's going to control the E3 square. I mean, like in case of Bishop E3.
Yeah, making it hard for Black to for White to play Bishop B2 and Rook E1. So one more, let's try. Rook takes on E8, Queen takes, and so the problem is that on Bishop B2 it's Queen E3. It's not Rook E3, but it's not Knight E3, because I wasn't certain. It's like Knight E3, White goes Rook E1, and the Knight is lost.
You know, well, I've been thinking about Bishop C4 there.
Bishop C4. C6. If you wanna take.
Yes, but then, okay, at least Bishop E3 is considerable. Or maybe I can.
Yeah, like Queen F2 to regroup this way, Queen F2, but then once again the bishop is not moving. It won't be easy to get Grishuk in this one. He's... by the way, after Bishop C4, I could go Knight B6 back, yeah? Knight B6 back, and if Bishop goes back,
I wouldn't say that
this
was my plan, but okay, like Bishop B5.
B5 to force C6, or kind of provoke C6 and then go back. Well, we are getting to more or less the same position. Anyway, it no longer looks that it will be kind of a free roll for Nipponish here.
Yeah,
because
obviously.
it's not easy. Once again, the material is favorable. The structure is favorable. He's a little bit not in time. Like, allow White to play a couple of moves to play Bishop B2, Rook E1. He's just better.
Yeah.
But seems to be not easy to achieve.
Yeah, chess is a game of the tempo.
Yep. The tragedy of one tempo, as they used to say. I don't know why. Yeah, because usually in all those sharp lines, you're not in time by exactly one move.
And it's like, just imagine if you play a pawn endgame and your opponent like is white and you're black. he starts to play, for example, I don't know, like h4, king c3, h5, king d4, h6, king e5, h7, king f6, but
and one tempo is missing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like rook e8, which I can't say was a bit of surprise for us. Well, I mean, we almost everywhere we wanted to have our queen on f6, but like playing rook e8 means that no more we have this kind of ideas. Yeah, well, so if c4, you play knight b4, I guess,
Yeah.
and then I play bishop b2. Yeah.
That might be. Then.
But the point that maybe you can, no, but d5 is a bit risky positionally, because then I'll play c5, then bishop c3 somewhere.
Maybe you just don't
try
play
to reach.
c5. Maybe after d5 you just play bishop c3 immediately.
Probably.
Well, so it's still not 100% comfortable for black.
Yeah, obviously.
Because the very next move is rook e1, right? Black is not in time to, say, to get his hands on the e file. So if it would be queen e7 followed by rook e8, then maybe I would say that black is totally fine. Not yet, because rook e1 will cause some trouble. Rook e1 followed with bishop c3.
So probably just simple take on e8, queen e8, c4, knight b4, and bishop b2.
At least there is no forced way that we can see how black is supposed to equalize, right? I was thinking of knight c2 followed by queen e3, but...
And you know also bishop c3 probably is a threat.
Yeah, bishop c3 feels like a threat, yeah. So once again, for instance, if b6 happens, bishop c3... Okay, so maybe...
Well, I start with rook e1.
Yeah, you start with rook e1, I agree. Queen d8. Or should it be d7? Not sure. Because queen d8, I wanted to go to h4. On the other hand, maybe you just go queen d7, rook e8. Queen d7, it's better, yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, but I can play bishop c3 still.
Bishop c3.
The point that if you play rook e8, I just take on b4 first.
You take on b4 first. You take on b4 twice, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so I'm forcing you to play c5, but I'll just take.
I mean, how bad that one is. Yes. Okay. First thing that c5. The other thing, bishop c. Yeah, queen d7. That's fine. Rook e1, queen d7, bishop c3. If I just go knight c6, how bad that one is? It probably is bad because d5. Yeah. Now my knight has to move to some really ugly squares.
Even if your knight would be on a6 now, I mean, still it may be just better for white, even so. Yeah, but
no, it really depends. I believe it really depends on if black is in time. Yeah. Because if my knight goes to c5, I'm relatively happy.
Yeah, relatively
because
happy.
I'm ready to play f6. I believe in such positions. Just to, well, once again, not the position on the actual board, but the position on our analysis board. Because f6 blocks the diagonal, the long diagonal, so white is not threatening much. It does weaken the e6 square, but white has no piece that effectively will get to e6 square. So maybe that would be acceptable. But so my worry is that I don't have a comfortable move. Yeah, don't have a comfortable move.
Yeah, because like knight e7 looks a bit, I can say ugly, but...
It puts the knight far away from the desirable square, which is c5.
By the way, maybe tactically it's just bad because of queen g5.
Knight f6. Oh, sorry, knight g6.
Yeah, and I was thinking about g4 there. Yeah, but there's bishop c2 and probably all of a sudden...
I mean, that's still, like, becomes sharp all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Becomes pretty sharp. knight d8 would have been terrible tactically because of queen g5 instead of knight e7. Because at some point I was considering to go knight d8 and put it
To
on
b7.
put it on b7 c5, but knight d8 then queen g5, and I don't see what am I supposed to do.
Yeah.
Queen g5, if
And
bishop
rook
g6, then rook e7
It's just bad.
just wins the game.
So if knight e7, I don't see the forced refutation.
It's like
but
there is no forced refutation possibly.
but it has to be. I mean,
But
like,
it is, yeah, it's quite a smelly move, I have to say. Bishop b2 played by what? After rook e... an immediate
No,
bishop
immediately.
b2. An immediate bishop b2.
well,
Yeah, because we thought if white captures on e8 before that, then goes bishop b2, then black would just simply equalize, right? Not like that.
yes, but taking on e8, playing c4, bishop b2, it was obviously an option. Yeah, but probably
So what black does now? Takes e2.
yeah, I think they have to take.
Have to take e2, right?
And then play queen f6, but yeah, but why not queen f6 immediately? Or queen h4 probably.
Queen h4 with the option to go knight f.
Not really an option,
That's
but
like, I don't like the fact that white will be able to double to go rook
Yeah.
a1 to e1 and then take on e2 with the rook. So by capturing e2 at the moment, I feel like black might win some time, you know. So takes. Perhaps it's bishop takes, right? Rook e2. Yeah, rook 2 is on the board. I believe it has to be bishop takes.
so and then queen e7.
And then queen e7, yes. And then queen e7. However, after c4, queen's exchange is, well, does not guarantee you an equality.
Yeah, it does not, but it simplifies the black tasks a lot. I mean, like, I thought that it's in favor of white to keep the queens
so
on the board.
White should keep the queens, you thought, yeah? Queen e7. Well, let's see what Jan takes on e2 with. But I don't see a point to in taking with the queen. I mean, it kind of gives black some extra options, like knight b4 apparently gets
but
rid
at
of
the same
bishop.
time, we can, like, win the battle for the e file.
No, but knight b4, I don't see how you keep the pair of bishops.
Okay, well, like, if I play rook c1.
Rook c1.
Okay, it looks a bit
But then-
awkward.
Yeah, he actually does take with the queen. He actually does take.
I mean,
with
like,
the queen.
yeah, if you start to play knight e2,
Knight
now I can play
e2.
rook d1, and after knight
Yeah,
b4,
then
rook
c3.
d2.
No, you
Or
could,
c3,
you could
yeah,
go c3,
c3
because
obviously.
d3 is under control.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole point of our maneuvering was that initially knight b4, my idea was after c3 to play bishop d3 and to trade the bishops. So if this happens, normally black is fine.
But you know, like,
Even though, yeah,
even
there is
though,
a
let's say-
problem. Bishop takes f1, you take on b4, and then bishop a6, and it is getting trapped with b5. So the whole idea for black was not working tactically. Then it's not bishop b4. Then after queen e2, he has to do something else. Bishop e2, this is on the board. Queen takes. Very next move is possibly rook e1 to control the e file. Yeah, so Alexander Grishuk is thinking, I believe he's... well, he's
Queen-
not.
queen
Queen
e8.
e8. Queen e8. Yes, that's correct. Let's go to an endgame. So 20, how many it is? 20 minutes left for Alexander Grishuk, 55 for Jan Nepomniachtchi. Indeed, the position is simplified. If any side is better, it is obviously white.
By the way, can I continue with the same idea, like playing rook e1?
Yes.
Well, so
rook takes.
let's suppose that I'm forcing you to take on
Takes,
e2.
takes, yes.
And now, if you play knight b4, I still can play c3. With the same idea, if you play bishop d3, I play rook d2, and again the bishop will be
Takes,
tracked. Yeah.
Okay, no, but I don't feel like I have to play knight b4
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah,
It's
but
like I think I'm
Like
kind
king
of
f8.
happy with king f8 and just swapping all the heavy stuff, like leaving you with pair of bishops against bishop and knight. Still not the most pleasant position, but should be defendable, it feels like. Should
Yeah,
be
probably you're
because
right.
without the rooks, I can, in case of c4, go to b4 and support it with c5. I believe this will be possible because
Yes, yes.
so
No open files and more or
yeah,
less
like,
solid pawn
they are
structure.
less significant, let's say. The open files.
Yeah, so
will be
I think that it was a bit. I mean, so trading queens wasn't been in Jan's plans, because queen e8 is some kind of
but
is
can
forcing
you,
to
can
trade the
you,
queens.
Can you prevent? No, you can't really prevent the
Yeah,
queen's
like
trade,
queen
right?
e3 is
Yeah, queen d2, queen e3
okay.
just equalizes. Yeah.
Maybe you can try to find the proper line for this trade, but
Wait, can you go c4 now?
I think I can take and play knight f4.
Ah, you know what? You can go knight e3 and take the bishop. Very next. Ah,
Yeah.
no, you can't. Rook e1 still. There is a pin. You can't do this. So knight b4 will be needed.
Yeah, but I think the easiest is, I mean, take and play rook e8 probably. And then if you play bishop f1, I play knight e3, rook e1, and king f8.
King f8. And then it's the opposite colors, and then it's a draw. Alright, so it's been a couple of hours. This game is going. To remind you, the second game of the Moscow Grand Prix final. Let's go back to the actual position. So we do believe that Jan managed to get some prospects for an advantage. However, now he has to make a very important decision, and well, possibly we can say that his opponent found the line which keeps black fighting for equality. We'll make a quick break. We'll come back in 5 to 10 minutes. Stay tuned. The second game is likely to finish in a draw, but there might be still some things going. If it will finish in a draw, then obviously tomorrow will be a fantastic tiebreak. So stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. One, yeah, I was signaling that we are ready to come back on air. So, the second game, the second classical game of the final and the last classical game of the tournament is in progress, and Jan Nepomniachtchi still has a bit of an advantage against Alexander Grishuk. Last move, well, only one move played during the broadcast. Rook A1 went to E1, and we thought that in this case Grishuk has to take on E2 and go King F8, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And Grishuk remains in slight time trouble because he's like almost 20.
Just went below 20 minutes.
Yep.
It's move number 23, right?
So 17 moves for 20 minutes, which
20 minutes. Well,
okay.
Not that much of a time trouble if what we thought will happen if he will trade the queens. Because queen takes, rook takes, the position is simplified.
So I mean, like, trading the queens will...
I mean, then it kind of clarifies the position, so you know that what you want to do after that. You go King F8, you want to trade the rooks as well.
Okay, well, yeah, we can try, like...
So takes, King F8 seems to be a useful move. And then it's not clear how white is supposed to... I mean, you want to advance your pawns, but at the same time you have to control the squares.
But it's not that
like
evident
behind,
that in the endgame we have less finesse than during the middle game. So, like, even if you trade queens, play King F8, first of all, okay, that's a question for white, what to do with c-pawn, and that's the question for black, do we really need to trade the rooks? I mean, like, just let's imagine if we just get the rooks out of the board, then white will play c3, put their king on d2, and then they'll try to play, for example, bishop a3 and b4.
But c3, bishop c2.
All the time.
That was my problem.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, white goes king f2 here. Rook to e8.
Maybe knight b4 is even better there.
Yeah, knight b4 is even better, I agree. But, I mean, just to get rid of the rooks, yeah? Rook takes, king takes. And then, yeah, c3, you allow bishop c2. So you probably go c4 here.
Yeah, but then
knight b4. And bishop c2 is a threat.
Probably
and knight d3
black is just better.
Yeah, in this particular case, yeah, it's white who has to be worried because bishop c2 is coming. Yeah, so it might be not easy.
So it's maybe just...
Maybe instead of king f2, he has to look for another move. Which could be c3? Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, c3, bishop
but
d3.
Still, bishop d3 equalizes immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
And personally, I would pick black there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think black is, let's say, playing for a win for real, but yeah, out of the woods completely. What else can be done? Aha, so that was what Grishuk was thinking about. And I believe in a way we are lucky to come back just in time, because it turns out that Rook E1 came along with a draw offer, and the draw was accepted, and that means that we will have a tiebreak tomorrow. And indeed,
which should be exciting.
Yeah, we couldn't spot the way for white. We thought that white is supposed to be better, but apparently it was wrong.
Probably the critical moment of the game was so rook e2, bishop g4,
f3, bishop f5, and here we were thinking
our proposal was to play c4. Yeah, I think
wait, was it c4 here? Or
no, yeah, queen d2, rook e8. I think it's to take on e8 first.
Takes on e8 first, and then to try to play. Yeah, that was
rook takes e8, queen
rook takes e8, c4. If knight b4, which we presumed had to be played, bishop b2, and that would, at least it seemed to us, keep slight advantage for white.
Yeah.
Because the way Jan continued in the game, when he played bishop b2, it allowed Grishuk to trade on e2 and go queen e8, after which doesn't seem to... perhaps white simply has no time to, to solidify his position, to establish the harmony of the pieces.
Well, so this match doesn't become less exciting after this, I can say, quick but still.
Yeah, well, it was relatively quick game.
But quite tense still. I mean, like at the first glance, it was like Jan has some slight advantage, but then Grishuk finally
Managed to equalize.
managed to equalize, managed to trade some pieces, and
So far, the dynamic
simplified
in
the-
this match. Look, Jan had two very comfortable positions from the opening. So in both games, we can say Nepomniachtchi was pressing.
and
At the other,
okay, well, like
yeah.
it looks like he was better prepared for the both final
we
games.
can say that overall, yeah, he has shown better preparation, but he failed to pose serious problems. Nevertheless, so it's hard to say who has the psychological advantage going to a time.
I think it's
to
just
a
approximately
tiebreak.
equal,
Yeah, so that's everyone's
as well
match.
as the LO ratings of the players.
Yeah, anybody's match so far. So tomorrow at 3 p.m. everything's going to be decided. So they will not get any bonus points for this match.
Mhm.
And speaking of points and bonus points, yeah, to remind you, the Grand Prix tournament in Moscow is the start of the Grand Prix Series 2019, where 4 tournaments will be played altogether. So next event in Riga in July, and then it will be one in Israel and one somewhere else. I don't
Mhm.
remember where. Right, so 21 players altogether. So each of them plays in 3 tournaments out of 4. And the goal is to perform as good as you can to score Grand Prix points. So
And
apart from the money prizes and everything, yeah, the overall count of Grand Prix points.
and the main aim of playing in Grand Prix Series to reach the candidates tournaments.
Yeah, so that's a qualification event for the candidates. So 2 players with the best overall score will qualify to the candidates tournament. And then you earn Grand Prix points by winning the matches, and you earn the bonus Grand Prix points, 1 point precisely, by winning the match in classical chess. So in this regard, Wojtaszek, for example, so we have 2 semi-finalists who are out of the tournament, Nakamura and Wojtaszek. So they leave the tournament at the same stage, but they score different number of points. While Nakamura scored only 3 Grand Prix points, Wojtaszek, who won both of his matches during the classical time control, scored 5. So now, the loser in the final will take 5 points from the overall count plus the bonus.
Personally, I would
points.
like to say that I like this adjustment of the system. That's it. Probably at some
It motivates
part,
players,
It
yeah.
motivates and forces players to play.
To
I mean,
try to
the
play in
classical
classical
part.
chess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially getting closer to the final stages of the Grand Prix, because that's the first tournament. You don't know where you stand and everything.
Yeah.
But imagine the last stage where it's clear that, I don't know, you have 10 points and the leader has 12, and your aim is to catch him up. So
you have
it
to
might
play
be that
both
despite the
games.
yeah, it's kind of despite the comfortable situation, you might be pushed to win the match, in a classical
Yeah.
time control. So it's like winning the match on the tiebreak might be not enough for you. So yeah, that's a nice adjustment to the system. So we are waiting. I believe we are waiting for an interview with the players. There should be some short interview after this game, and we are looking forward to tomorrow's tiebreak. So Paul, as practice has shown, there aren't any boring tiebreaks in this tournament. So we only had it once where both games in 25 plus 10 were drawn. That was Nepo against Wojtaszek.
But I think that they were
those
not boring
draws
at all.
were like crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was absolutely one hell of a game in game 1 where Jan was really lucky to escape. Right, so I believe the interview with the players shall be on your screen within next minute or so. And shall we say, I think we'll end today's broadcast with an interview. So before that, the reminder that please make sure to come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Moscow time. That will be the tiebreak day where everything's going to be decided. And I believe those two really matching each other, and one unpredictable tiebreak is in front of us tomorrow. Any remarks on today's game? Still, personally, I'm curious to listen to the players, because the moment where Jan has played knight c3, I'm wondering if it was missed by Grishuk.
So we're looking forward to see Grishuk's explanation about knight c3 and Jan's explanation about his, trading the queens.
Yeah, so, and I was told that interview is almost ready, so once again, thanks for watching. Please make sure to watch the interview with the players and come back tomorrow so that we can follow the tiebreak together.
So we have our players in the press center, and Jan Nepomniachtchi played with the white pieces, and the second game ended in a draw. So Jan, please tell us about this game. It was quite short.
Well, maybe it wasn't not that long, but it was, I think, very complex, because when someone plays Berlin, it's very difficult to refute these lines. So I came up with this more or less rare move rook e2, so idea to provoke b6 and then play rook e1. But this knight c4 was invented by Kramnik recently in game against Fedoseev in Vaikanze, and okay, knight c4 is a nice move, I think. But okay, there is also some complex position despite the symmetrical structure, but somehow I think that computer doesn't like too much this b3, a4, a5 move. I don't know why, so probably there is some better edition of this position than I played. Probably knight e4 wasn't very correct, because after knight e4 the play becomes, more or less sharp, and black is okay with bishop f5, knight d5. So even achieving two bishops doesn't it didn't provide white with some serious advantage. So, and in the end, I thought that maybe the endgame could be unpleasant, because my king is a little bit far from c2 square, and okay, I decided to offer a draw. Until it's too late.
And Alexander, you were spending much time in this game, so were you surprised by these moves by Jan?
No, as I said, today was better than yesterday. Still not fantastic out of the opening, but better than yesterday. At least there was some counterplay, as I said, and I almost took over the initiative. I don't know, in the end, maybe I should play on, but I was not sure about take on e2, rook e2, king f8, and now c3, rook e8, rook d2. My rook gets to b1, but what happens next, I was not sure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm slightly better, but I was not sure. And again, the game was not going my way at all, so it was definitely slightly worse. So it was not that easy to start playing for a win at full steam,
And do you think that the playoff will be even more better for you?
What?
Do you think that the playoff will be even more better for you, because you said that yesterday it was worse than this day? So
I don't know. It's not Nostradamus, so let's see.
So, and Jan, what do you expect from the playoff?
Well, somehow I was very, optimistic about this tournament, and I wanted to play till the very end. But right now I'm more or less happy that this would be surely the last day for this Grand Prix. So finally, we both would have some rest after playoff. But I think it will be fun.
Thank you very much. Thank you.